7 silent warnings an elderly person is nearing life's end. What no one tells you. There comes a time in life when silence begins to speak louder than words. You notice it in the way an old man stares out the window longer than before, his eyes not really seeing the trees but something far beyond them. You see it in the gentle way an elderly woman folds a blanket or holds a hand, as if she's memorizing the texture of this world before she leaves it behind. There is a stillness that enters their lives, not sad, not fearful, just quiet, sacred, and strangely peaceful. We like to believe we'll always have more time. Another dinner, another story, another laugh around the table. But life, in its gentle honesty, begins to prepare us long before the final goodbye. The body slows, the spirit softens, and the soul starts to drift, not away from love, but towards something eternal. These moments are often missed in the rush of daily life, yet they are filled with wisdom, truth, and beauty that only age can reveal. When an elderly person begins to near the end of life, the world seems to narrow. What once mattered, achievements, arguments, possessions, starts to fade like distant music. What remains is simple: love, forgiveness, memories, and peace. And in that simplicity there's a kind of grace the rest of us rarely understand until we're standing beside it. This is not a story about death. It's about the sacred transition between two worlds, the final lessons life teaches through the quiet language of the soul. Today we'll walk gently through those silent signs, 7 moments when heaven seems to draw closer and the heart begins to whisper, "I'm ready." Because to recognize these signs is not to fear them. It's to learn how to love deeper while we still can. Number 1. The gradual withdrawal from the world. There's a moment when the elderly begin to drift quietly away from the noise of life. You'll notice it first, in small ways: fewer phone calls, shorter conversations, more time spent sitting in silence. They aren't avoiding anyone, and they're not lonely in the way we think. They are simply turning inward, slowly loosening their grip on the world they've known for so long. It's as if they've begun to walk along a shoreline between here and somewhere beyond, their feet touching both sand and water at once. You might see your father staring at an old photograph for a long time, lost in memories that no longer need to be spoken. Or your mother sitting by the window every morning, sipping her coffee without the radio on. She's not bored, she's reflecting. Her silence has purpose. It's her way of saying goodbye to the rush, the clutter, and the noise that once filled her days. This withdrawal can be hard to watch. We're used to equating silence with sadness, stillness with decline. But in truth, this is the body and soul aligning, preparing for peace. The elderly are not giving up. They're settling down into a deeper rhythm, one that no longer needs constant distraction to feel alive. They're learning to live more in memory than in motion. If you listen closely, you'll feel the tenderness in it. They begin to speak less because they have already said what matters. They laugh quietly, not because life is less joyful, but because they've learned joy doesn't always need to be loud. Their thoughts stretch between the past and eternity, and they begin to find comfort in solitude. For the family, this can be bittersweet. You might feel them slipping away, even while they're still in the room. But this is a sacred season, a time to sit beside them, not to pull them back, but to walk with them through this quiet transition. Bring them warmth, presence, and patience. Don't fill the silence, honor it. Because in those quiet moments, something holy is unfolding. A gentle farewell not to us but to the world as they've known it. In the slowing down, in the pulling away, they are not disappearing. They are preparing. The heart begins to rest, the spirit begins to let go, and life, ever so softly, begins to teach us what it means to release with grace. Number 2. The change in sleep and energy patterns. You'll notice another shift, subtle, but deeply telling. The days start to blur. Your loved one begins sleeping more, sometimes even in the middle of the day. Mornings no longer bring the same burst of activity. Nights stretch longer and quieter. The body, worn from years of motion, starts asking for rest that even sleep can't fully satisfy. At first it may seem like tiredness, but it's more than that. The body is whispering what the soul already knows, that it's time to slow down for the final journey. Sleep becomes sacred, a space where they drift between two worlds. In dreams, they may speak to people long gone, or describe places they've never seen. They may wake up with tears or with peace in their eyes. It's as if their soul is rehearsing for eternity, preparing for a kind of rest that doesn't end. For families, this stage can feel like watching the light fade, one quiet moment at a time. You might find yourself adjusting, talking softer, moving slower, cherishing even the brief minutes they are awake and alert. In those moments, every word feels heavier, every touch more precious. Sometimes they'll stay awake through the night, gazing at the ceiling or the stars. They're not restless, they're reflecting. The night feels safer somehow, soft. Maybe it's because the world is quiet then, and their spirit can think clearly, free from the rhythm of life that once demanded so much of them. When energy fades, they stop rushing. They stop trying to keep up. And while that might break your heart, it's also one of the most peaceful truths you'll ever witness. The body in its quiet wisdom knows when to rest, and the soul, sensing what's ahead, begins to detach, not from love, but from the need to fight against time. What they need most in this stage isn't encouragement to stay strong. It's reassurance that they are safe to rest. Hold their hand. Tell them you're there. Let them sleep as long as they need, and when they wake, greet them with gentleness. Their energy may be fading, but their spirit is still luminous, still capable of love, still aware of every act of kindness. This slowing down isn't defeat. It's sacred preparation. Like the setting sun painting the sky in its final brilliance, their weariness is not weakness, it's beauty. It's life itself, humbling us, reminding us that even in our last days there's grace in slowing down and holiness in letting go. Number 3, the sudden need to make peace. There comes a moment when an elderly person begins to feel a deep, almost urgent pull to set things right. It may seem to come out of nowhere. An old grudge suddenly remembered, a name mentioned after years of silence, a quiet confession whispered through trembling lips. But it's not random. It's the soul's instinct for completion, the deep human need to leave nothing unfinished before crossing into eternity. You might hear your father speak about an old friend he hasn't seen in decades, or your grandmother suddenly wanting to write a letter to someone she once hurt. You'll see their eyes soften when they talk about the past, not with bitterness, but with longing. This is the heart searching for peace, for release from the weight of regret. They're not trying to rewrite their story, they're trying to close it with grace. Many elderly people begin this process without even realizing it. They'll start giving gentle advice about forgiveness, urging their children to let things go or don't stay angry too long. They know from the mountain of years they've climbed that pride is a poor companion at the end. Their voice may tremble, but their words hold the wisdom of a lifetime, that peace is more precious than being right. Sometimes they'll say sorry when you least expect it, maybe for things you don't even remember. Or they'll bring up old memories you thought were buried. Don't rush them through it. Don't dismiss it as confusion. This is sacred work, the heart untangling itself from the past, making room for light to enter. And then, There are moments of reconciliation that feel like small miracles. A son who finally visits after years of silence. A friend who answers the phone after decades apart. Those reunions may last minutes, but they carry eternity within them, because when someone nears the end, love becomes the only truth left standing. Everything else falls away. If you're blessed to witness this stage, walk gently. Listen more than you speak. Let them say what they need to say. The apologies, the blessings, the memories. Sometimes peace comes not through words but through a single tear, a held hand, or a shared silence. In these moments, they are not dying. They are healing. They are forgiving the world and forgiving themselves. And in doing so, they're teaching us the most profound truth of all, that peace is not found at the beginning of life, but often at its end, when everything unnecessary has finally fallen away. Number 4. The glimpse beyond. Speaking of the unseen, there's something mysterious that begins to happen as life's end draws near. The elderly start to speak of things others cannot see, a light in the corner of the room, a voice softly calling their name, a loved one long gone standing at the foot of the bed. Some call it the mind's trick, others call it comfort. But those who have watched closely know it feels like something more, something holy. You might hear them whisper, "She's here," or "I saw him," with a calmness that defies logic. Their eyes shine in ways you haven't seen in years, as though they're watching two realities at once. And perhaps, in those moments, the veil between this world and the next grows thin, and they are already reaching through it. For the family, these moments can be confusing, even unsettling. You might wonder if they're dreaming, or if their mind is fading. But look closer. You'll see no fear in their eyes. Often there's wonder, peace, sometimes even joy. They'll talk about walking through a field, seeing bright colors, or hearing music without sound. These are not hallucinations. They're glimpses of home. In hospitals and care homes, countless nurses have spoken of patients who suddenly reach upward, smile at empty air, or begin to talk to unseen guests with radiant faces. Minutes or hours later, they pass. The timing, the serenity, it's as if they were being welcomed, not leaving. And if you've ever sat beside someone in those final hours, you know the air feels different, heavy, yet sacred. It's the stillness of heaven touching earth. So when your loved one speaks of seeing a light, or says, "They're waiting for me," don't dismiss it. Don't correct them. Smile. Hold their hand. Tell them it's okay. Because in that moment, they are not confused. They are closer to truth than we are. There's something profoundly beautiful about witnessing this stage. It reminds us that death is not darkness. It's a doorway, and those who walk through it often glimpse the other side before they go, not with fear but with quiet awe. When they start to speak of the unseen, don't silence them with reason. Instead, meet them there, in faith, in wonder, in love, because those words are not signs of ending, but of arrival. It's their way of telling us without fear or tears, "I can see home now." Number 5. The simplification of desires. There comes a point when the things that once mattered start to lose their weight. The shelves that used to hold treasures no longer hold meaning. The clothes, the trophies, the plans, they all begin to fade into the background. What the elderly start to crave is not more, but less. Less noise, less busyness, less holding on. You'll see it in small gestures, your grandmother giving away her favorite jewelry to a granddaughter, or your father telling you to take the old watch he wore every day for decades. They're not being sentimental, they're setting things in order. Every gift, every handoff, carries a message. I won't need this where I'm going. The appetite fades too. Meals become smaller, simpler. The once beloved desserts or rich Sunday dinners no longer tempt them. It's not a loss of pleasure, it's a quiet detachment from the physical world. The soul is becoming full while the body grows empty, and that fullness comes not from food or things, but from peace. They stop talking about the future. They don't worry about next month's weather, or the state of the economy, or what the neighbors are doing. Their world narrows to the essentials. A favorite song, a quiet afternoon, the faces of people they love. And in that narrowing, there's clarity, a kind of wisdom we spend our whole lives searching for but rarely find until the very end. You may notice how they start saying phrases like, "It's enough," or "I've had a good life." These words aren't resignation, they're acceptance. They've seen enough sunsets, heard enough laughter, cried enough tears to understand that everything has its season. They no longer reach for more because they've learned that peace doesn't come from addition, but from release. Sometimes they'll give away not just things but memories. They'll tell you a story they've never told before, something tender, something painful, something that shaped them. They do this not to unburden themselves, but to pass on what time has taught them. It's their way of leaving a part of their soul behind, a final inheritance of love and truth. In these moments, you begin to understand something that modern life often hides from us: the beauty of simplicity. When life nears its end, it reveals what truly matters, not the possessions we keep, but the peace. And the elderly, in their final grace, show us that the truest form of abundance is learning to let go. Number 6. The subtle farewell, small acts of letting go. The end rarely comes suddenly. It unfolds gently, like dusk overtaking daylight. There's a soft, unmistakable shift in the way an elderly person begins to move, speak, and look at the world around them. It's as if they are saying goodbye without ever using the words. You might notice them tidying things they haven't touched in years. They'll organize drawers, fold old letters, or ask you to promise to care for something after they're gone. Sometimes they'll make remarks that stop you cold. "You'll be fine," or "I'm proud of you." It might sound ordinary, but in their tone, there's a quiet finality. These are not words of passing thought. They're words of farewell. Their eyes start to linger longer on loved ones. They'll hold your hand a little tighter, as if memorizing its warmth. They'll smile in that soft, knowing way, not with sadness, but with gratitude. To them, every touch, every glance, every whispered "I love you" carries the weight of eternity. You might find them sorting through belongings, deciding what to keep and what to give away. Often they'll pick one small thing, a book, a picture, a quilt, and press it into your hands. It's not just a gift, it's a message. Remember me not with sorrow, but with love. Sometimes, the farewell comes in silence. They'll start sleeping longer, talking less, spending hours staring at nothing, but that nothing is full of meaning. They're already half in another world, seeing what we can't see. They might hum an old hymn or mumble the names of people long gone. Listen closely. Those are sacred echoes of the soul returning home. This stage is the most tender to witness, because it's when love becomes its purest form, quiet, unconditional, unafraid. As you sit beside them, resist the urge to fix, to talk, to distract. Just be there. Hold their hand. Match your breathing with theirs. Let them know that it's okay to rest, that you'll carry their love forward. The final farewell doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens in 1,000 little ways. Each glance, each smile, each sigh. They are not leaving love behind. They are leaving it in you, and long after they are gone, you'll realize those last days weren't just about saying goodbye. They were a sacred exchange, their peace for your memory, their ending for your beginning. Number 7. The quiet glow of acceptance. There's a moment, often unnoticed, when the fear of dying begins to fade. You'll see it in their eyes, a softness that wasn't there before, a peace that seems to settle deep within. It's not that they've stopped caring about life, it's that they've made peace with the mystery of what comes next. The struggle to hold on begins to quiet, and what remains is something profoundly beautiful: acceptance. At this stage, there's no more fighting, no more denial, no more asking why me. The questions dissolve, and in their place comes calm, a surrender that feels less like defeat and more like faith. The elderly begin to rest differently. Their breathing slows, their body relaxes, and their words carry a gentle certainty. They speak of going home as if they've already seen it. They no longer resist time, they walk hand in hand with it. For those watching, this can feel both heartbreaking and holy. You might notice them gazing into the distance, smiling at something unseen. They may hum an old hymn, whisper a prayer, or simply close their eyes with the faintest smile. The weight of years seems to lift from their face. What you're seeing is not loss, it's transformation. They no longer worry about unfinished plans or regrets. What once seemed urgent, the small mistakes, the unpaid bills, the unspoken opinions, no longer matters. The only thing that matters now is love. Love remembered, love given, love received. Their heart, which once beat for survival, now beats for peace. Sometimes they'll say something so simple it stops you in your tracks. I'm ready. Those two words can shatter you and heal you all at once. They carry decades of wisdom, pain, laughter, and faith. And though it hurts to hear, it's also a profound gift because it means they've found what most of us spend our lives searching for: peace with themselves, with others, and with God. In that quiet glow, you begin to understand what dying truly means. It's not the extinguishing of a flame, but the passing of it from their hands into yours. It's not a closing, but a continuation. The body may weaken, but the spirit becomes radiant, like light spilling through a cracked door. So when you see that stillness, don't be afraid. Sit beside them. Feel the calm in the room. It's not emptiness, it's fullness, a sacred hush that tells you heaven is near. This is the moment when the soul, free of its burdens, begins to shine. And in that glow, you'll see not an ending, but a homecoming. Conclusion: the sacred transition. Life has a way of teaching us through its endings. The last chapter of someone's story is never written in haste. It's whispered through silence, smiles, and the spaces between breaths. The 7 signs we've walked through are not warnings to fear, but invitations to see death differently. Not as a loss, but as the final lesson in love. When an elderly person begins to withdraw, to rest, to make peace, to see beyond, they're not disappearing. They're crossing the most sacred bridge any of us will ever walk. And if we're blessed enough to stand beside them, we have the privilege of witnessing something few ever truly understand: the beauty of a life preparing to meet eternity. So when that time comes, don't rush it. Don't fill the silence. Just be there. Hold their hand. Whisper words of love. Tell them their life mattered, that they are safe, that they can rest. Because in that moment, they are not dying, they are becoming whole. And when they finally go, remember this: the body may rest beneath the earth, but love never stays buried. It lives on, in your hands, in your heart, in the way you live from this day forward. That's how they remain. That's how they continue. That's how the story of one soul becomes the strength of another. The end is not the end. It's the most peaceful beginning.